All right, it's Monday morning. Whew, another week has turned. It is right on time. Got some people turning some policies. I'm excited about that. Excited about all the things that are happening and growth. And man, Johnny, the man with the plan, he's in the office. He's ready to rock and roll.
That's right.
Dude,
Good morning, everybody.
I'm gonna get you a ring light so we can see your face better.
Yeah, no, I need to get that updated.
I'm gonna get you set up.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. I guess, Mike, you'd want me to go over that stuff real quick, and then we could kind of open it up from there.
Yeah. You had some great ideas, man. Let's lay it down.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to go over the basics. There's basically 4 basics in the business, and you can't ever remind yourself enough of the fundamentals. Okay. So I want y'all to ask yourselves this week how you would grade yourself on those 4 things. So the first one is pick up a check. So if you're meeting with clients, that would be the first basic is help them for what they asked for, right? So if it's a final expense lead, help them with that. If it's a mortgage lead, typically you're going to help them with term if they can qualify. Whatever they asked for, help them with that. Don't spend time talking about anything else, okay? Or you can call it pick up a check, but help them, right? And if you don't, if you get to a point in the conversation and you're not filling out an application and submitting it, then pick up the phone and call one of us so we can help you out. Okay, so pick up a check / pick up a phone will be the first one. And, you don't have to tell us your grade. I just wanted you to think about it this week. Like if you were to grade yourself from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, how do you feel like you're doing with that process? Also with calling to seek help. The second one is referrals. So if we are meeting with people and helping them, are we asking them for referrals, right? We have a emergency response system. That's a good way to get referrals, and it's a good service that we can provide to people. So I'll give you a statistic. There's there's over $1 billion unclaimed insurance money right now in America. And it's mainly because people didn't know someone had a policy that was active, right? So that's a huge system we can use with people like, hey, who are, family and people that are close to you that could just be responsible to let us know in case something happens, right? Or you can just straight up ask, hey, were you happy with what I helped you with today? Like, do you know anyone else that might need help? So that's the second one. Third one is save money. So as much as possible, we're at the end of the appointment, we're going to be trying to ask about like, hey, do you have a plan for retirement? Or are you concerned, like with the money you do have, are you concerned about losing it? Those are 2 good questions. And typically you want to, if you're filling out the financial picture part of the appointment, like where you're asking them questions, you should be able to uncover that when you're asking about, like, hey, if something were to happen to you, where could your family go to get money? Like if you didn't have coverage and something happened, where would your family go, or where would you go to get that money, right? That's a good question that helps you uncover it, but that's the third one. And then the last one is opportunity or hire. but so sharing the opportunity with people, which y'all are doing a great job of. But those are the four things really that drive our business, right? Because at the end of the day, we help people with insurance and retirement, and we teach others how to do that, right? And those two things drive our entire business, and it's all basic stuff. So I just wanted to kind of have you guys think about that this week, because I think I could get better in all four areas, honestly. I'll be the first to say it. So, and sometimes I forget that the business is simple. And yes, there's a lot of information coming from all directions, but it is a simple business at the end of the day. And so I think sometimes when we simplify it, it's a little bit easier to focus, if that makes sense. So does anybody have any questions about the basics? Pretty straightforward. Excuse me.
Well, I think, now that we, a lot of us do over the phone, and we kind of use the phrase, pick up the check or pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. And I just interpret that, just my logical mind says, well, what does that mean? Because we're not picking up a check necessarily, because we're just getting their banking information. What does pick up the phone mean? It means make sure you use every resource possible, right, to get the family covered, and so picking up the phone means you're going to pick up the phone and get somebody to help you either explain or close or answer questions that you may not be able to answer. And picking up the check means is that, they called, they sent something in, they went online, they just want help today. They just want, and are you doing everything you can to help them? And I think, that's just the fundamental. Nothing good happens in our business until a policy is written. And then, as we all know, once the policy is written, there's still a lot of things that have to happen, to make it go all the way through to coverage for the client and cash for you. So I'm excited because, I hope everybody wrote those things down, because I'm like, this is the things. Some of y'all already doing really good on the share the opportunity. And that's really what it's about. Like when we look back in 2007, we were just landing on this thing as a part-time thing. This is what we're going to just do for some side money. And it worked out for a good while, until that point that, we made a decision that this was going to be something that we were going to leverage for our life, that this is what we do, and that makes it even stronger once you start realizing that this is what you do, and that you were put on this earth to help somebody. And that help means that you're going to get them covered, so that something tragic happens, they have either the funds available to them through living benefits or through a death benefit. And that changes things. So we all know somebody goes out there today and just, there's GoFundMe's all over the place. And back in my day, it was barbecue plate dinners, but we can avoid those or make those only additionals if we just follow keep these four things in mind as we go on an appointment. Pick up a check, pick up the phone. I don't know why I got some rapper's head, in my head there. Referrals, who else can I help? I've helped you today. Who else do you know that may need the same thing that I've been able to do for you? And save money means, hey, if the stock market's going up and down, are you comfortable with that? Do you have any vehicles that protect your money from losses? And sharing the opportunity. There's more people in this world that could benefit from the life insurance business, that all that brings just out there praying for somebody to come and introduce it to them. And I think we've got a great group here that really is designed, and inspirational stories all over the place to really lift people up through that process. I was going to say, I'm excited, man. We talked about goals last week. Whew, Megan, you believe I only missed one day on my cycling. Even this morning I got up and I was like, I was not ready to do it. So I looked at the clock and I said, darn it, I got time. And so I got up, went to it, got it done, got my shower because we got to be at the hospital this morning at 10 o'clock, gonna be a long day, you know. But got it done, and I'll be reading today and trying to get my mind on the right things and push the things that are bad from my mind to the back, and be a better person for everybody so we can grow. Anyway, I was fired up about that. I just thought I'd tell you all that. Woo! Peloton's getting excited for me.
Love it. How's everybody's week been? Anybody want to share anything about their week or something that they is on their mind?
Hey y'all, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what number 3 was that Jonathan talked about today, and that came up with me on an appointment on Friday, where a guy he's insuring his children, but he doesn't have anything on himself, and he was like, "Well, I can put that money in my investments. I don't need to," and honestly, it was only $53. And I said, so I just want to understand what you're saying. It's $53. I don't know, what you spend $53 on in a month, but I don't understand how you could cover your children and not cover yourself, because I'm guessing that your house is worth, and I said, and this is a guess, 350,000. And he's like, oh yeah. And I said, so how much do you owe on your house? And he's like, well, about 280. And I go, so if you got in your car and went home today, and you showed me an accident actually last night when you were talking to me on the phone, that's why you didn't get home in time for our appointment. If you were in that accident and maybe you even died, how would your wife pay off the home? Does she have the money to pay off the home so your children can stay in it? And he was like, well, no. I go, so that would come out of your investments? And he goes, well, I don't quite have that much. So, I mean, that's a great question, Jonathan. I've never thought about it before. I just was like, floored this guy wasn't going to cover himself, but he was going to cover his children. But anyways, the where would you go to get the money, I guess, question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely use.
That was a really good way that you painted the picture for him. And a lot of times I think people really need that painted picture, so that it occurs to them, oh yeah, I see your point. Like, I guess you are right. And a way that you can ask it as you're going through that financial picture page in the ATM, there's a part in there that asks about 401k money, CDs, investments. And another good way, and how Jonathan said it was great, but like another good way that you can also ask is, where do you have the funds available that could offset this loan if something were to happen to you yesterday?
Yeah, instead of so direct like I did.
I actually think that the way that you did it is perfect, because you have already built rapport with him.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a stranger, right? But I think that when we're talking to, if it's a one-sit close, which most of the time we're going to do if it's not warm market, or somebody that we've already built rapport with, it's important that we ask these questions where we are finding the money but not offending. And I don't think, I actually believe that being bold, especially in this business, is a powerful thing. I don't think you ever need to be afraid to say something that's bold, because it's really our job to help people in that way. Otherwise, I don't know who's going to be bold with them, about the reality of the situation. And the reality is that none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you can't tell me that you're going to make it home tomorrow, because we don't know that, And so if you didn't make it home tomorrow, where would your wife go to offset. And another reason that I ask it in that way is because maybe we're talking to somebody who's older, right? Who might have like a $250,000, $300,000 loan or just outstanding debt that they may not necessarily be able to cover that full amount with insurance, right? But asking, where do you have that money that could offset this loan? It does two things. It tells us where they have money sitting, right? It also tells us that they do have some money available, so we're not going to have to, so that when we go to pitch them the mortgage payment protection idea, rather than trying to cover the entire loan, which is typically out of people's price range for somebody who's in their 70s, right?
Right.
It's not going to make them feel as bad, like, oh, I can't cover the whole loan. It's like, okay, well, you have some funds sitting here that could offset a little bit of that. So maybe let's just look at covering your loan for 2 years of mortgage payments. That way, you know, if you don't make it home tomorrow, Bob, Mary's got 2 years. Excuse me. Mary's got 2 years of mortgage payments, so we can buy her time so she can figure out what her next move is. You know?
So just to add to that, I had a gentleman one time who 62 years old. He couldn't wait to turn 62 because in Illinois, once you turn 62, you can do a reverse mortgage. So he did that. And then I came to visit him, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, and we were talking about his, insurance, his health insurance. So then I asked him about life insurance, and he said, well, let me ask you this. Why would I need it if I just put my house in a reverse mortgage? Because nobody wants this house. He goes, I'm not married. I don't have any kids, don't have any grandkids. He goes, so that's why I put it in a reverse mortgage. I can just give it back to the government. He goes, so tell me, if I don't have anybody to leave money to and nobody to leave my house to, why would I need it? So I explained to him, I said, okay, well, the house may go, but what about you? You have a heart attack, you're in the middle of your kitchen. I said, do you have siblings? He says, yeah, I have 2 brothers and a sister. So they're working every day, putting their hard-earned money away to bury you. That's what they're working for, is to bury you. I said, somebody has to pick up that last final cost. Are you going to put that burden on your siblings, or are you going to take care? I said, you seem to be putting all of your financial things in order. So that final expense, that's going to be your responsibility too, unless you're going to go to your siblings and say, hey, I've got all this in place, but when I die, you guys pay for it. And he said, oh, yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's a good point, Serena, because you're gonna run across those people who just, no matter what you say, they don't believe they need it. But then that's a wonderful way to explain, regardless of who you are, who's left after you're gone, somebody is gonna have to take over that financial burden. Somebody is. And I always tell people, I'm like, typically it's the good one. Like, think about your family. Think about who's in it. Who would be the one that would pick it up? Like,
Right.
try to make it personal, because it is personal. Like, let's be real, But yeah, that's a wonderful, great job, Serena.
And there's a ton, the thing is people worry about offending, and Lord knows that the world today is easily offended by a lot of things. But when you come from compassion, if you come from a place of you truly care, and they look, this is when people, especially unfamiliar with the things that life insurance can do, we have to occur it to them, and we have to do it sometimes in a bold way. I mean, there's no higher end production numbers that's come without somebody being presented with a harsh reality. And there's ways to say it, and there's ways not to say it, and you go, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. We're just going to give it a shot, give it a shot. If it works, you're doing great. Keep it up. If it doesn't work, then that's, you pick up the phone and you go, hey, I had this client. Was there anything, here's what I said. Here's how I said it. Was there anything else I could have done differently? Or even just picking up the phone and going like, hey, I know this is important to you. I may not be explaining it correctly. Let me get my manager on the phone and see if they can help with explaining it. give somebody who's seasoned even a chance, and be honest with you, it's, there's sometimes I hear Michelle go into something with somebody. I'm like, oh, and I'm sitting right there and I'm going like, oh my God, no. And then it works. And we're like, okay, it worked. So I that's my own insecurities. Don't let you get in the way of them getting something that they can need. And, and I think it's okay to go like, okay, that's $53. What, and if you do put it in investments, what kind of impact is that going to have? I mean,
Right.
in the last 2 weeks, most stocks have lost over 10%. Which means if you put in $53 into something significant, that $53 is gone again.
Another thing too about asking for those 401ks, another reason we want to ask, about the safe money or where they have their money sitting is because if somebody has an old 401k sitting with an old employer for whatever reason, that's an opportunity for a rollover. Like they should have moved that money when they left that employer, and that's a big opportunity for a rollover. So that should be in your head. Ding, ding, ding. I need to bam this appointment, book a meeting from another meeting to talk about a rollover. And then real quick, I just wanted to say that, but I'll let you guys talk after. But I wanted to just say, Jonathan, I learned this from him, but he always starts the conversation when he knows he has to, really, honestly, not even just when he knows he needs to have a bold conversation, but I think with every client he talks with, and I've kind of adopted this over the last couple of years, is he starts the conversation as, look, I'm going to treat you like I would expect anybody to treat my own family. So do I have permission to be completely honest and transparent with you about the situation and what you can qualify for? And people, one, respect that and appreciate just the fact that like you're going to treat them exactly as you would expect somebody to treat your own family. And then you're asking for permission to be honest and transparent. It does two things. It gives you permission to say the bold things, and it also takes their guard down. Like, okay, this person's not going to try to sell me. And there's been a lot of times where I tell people, listen, you did a great job. This happened to me 2 days ago in an appointment. This family was properly covered and they did a great job setting themselves up, and they didn't necessarily need any more insurance unless they wanted more. And you just have to, regardless of the situation, you have to be open to truly, honestly treating somebody as you would expect an agent to treat somebody that you love, right? And when you come from that place, it's like, no matter what you say, like I would tell my mom this, I would tell my brother this, I would, anyway, that's just a good way to set it up so you have permission to be bold. Anyone else want to tell us about your week? I know Savannah had a good week. I'll let her talk about it. She'll be able to talk about it tomorrow on the sales call too. She had her first app submitted. Sabrina also had her first app submitted this week. So wonderful job, guys.
I actually have 2 pending. I've got one, I'm waiting on a social security number from my brother because he's covering his grandson. And then I submitted one for my son last night. He's actually texting me right now saying, hey, I'm trying to do this electronic signature and it's not letting me click. What do I do?
So which one is he doing? I'll try to walk you through it so you know.
He is doing the F&G Path Setter.
Okay, so that one that one's a little tricky. He'll need to basically just click, there's a box that says I have reviewed. And it's basically saying that you've reviewed each section, and then he'll need to click on next, and then he'll need to click I have reviewed, and then he'll need to click on next all the way till he gets to the end. It's just like whenever you get the signature back for you to sign, it's going to be the same way as it's going to look exactly the same as he's looking at it now. It's just you haven't signed it yet, so you don't know what it looks like. But on his end, it's just going to look like a couple of different boxes. Sections of the application, and right underneath it, it's going to have a little box that says I have reviewed. He just needs to check that off for each section and click on next. And then when he's done signing it, you'll get the application back and you'll see what I'm talking about, because your signature will look the same.
Don't you have to open up the little each section, even if you
Yeah.
don't look at it, you just have to open it real quick.
Yeah.
Before you
Yeah.
can click the box.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Each kind of has its own little nuance. So, that's another reason. When in doubt, just reach out. Like Bruno says, we need to get t-shirts.
Hey guys, you want to, one of the things that's fun about this business is getting referrals and where they lead you. Like I have a lady that I've done business with here in Houston over the past 5-6 years. She did a new policy and she wanted to cover, split it between her other 2 children. Her first policy I did was with a grandson, and she made me promise not to tell the other 2 that she had this policy. And so I have to keep that with her contact, do not tell about so-and-so's policy. But one of the new beneficiaries called me, the daughter, and she's in Florida. And she wanted to get another policy on her mom, but first she wanted to get something on herself. And, ended up doing F&G as well. But, they have it, everyone, we do the pass setter and it's super cool. And it's the one that's best for saving money for your future. But, the other one we have called the Everlast, it's pretty much the same thing, but it has a teeny bit less cash growth. And it's a little bit cheaper for the life insurance part. Well, the bottom line is it's the best, cheapest policy that's out there. And even if you don't put the extra money into it, it's got amazing cash growth. So I'm doing a policy that we should sign today.
It's kind of similar to the IULE with Moo. So it sounds.
Well, I mean, it's still an IULE, right?
Yeah.
It's exact same. It's just, well, for example, she is 42, I think. And we're going to do a $300,000 permanent policy. We're just paying the target premium. We're not putting extra in right now. And it's like $188. The next cheapest, if we didn't do the quote unquote full medical, is like $230.
Mm-hmm.
And this has way more cash growth. So, but, I did have to jump through some hoops. Usually it's pretty easy to be contracted in another state. You just go online and pay the money. This time I had to go get re-fingerprinted down at the fingerprinting place. That's something new with Florida, and wait for that to get turned in. But, and then, she also has 2 of her 3 kids live in Florida. Well, guess what? I'm licensed in Florida now. So whenever I go contact them to let them know about, hey, you're the beneficiary on your mom's policy, I want to make sure I have all your information. And you can let me know if she gets sick, not just if she passed away, because we got this thing called living benefits. And, hopefully I'm going to be able to use my Florida license on, the kids as well. I mean, the kids are going to be in their 20s. So they're perfect candidates for that. But I like where it leads you.
So you're going to go Everlast rather than pay setters on all of them, or what are you doing?
Well, yes, I'm doing for the referral client who's in Florida. I'm doing an Everlast because it's a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
He's just doing that for the
I'm doing it for the death benefit.
Yeah.
We're not trying to do it to make extra money.
Area. Yeah. Like, and that what he's talking about is very similar to the Mutual of Omaha IULE, which is a little bit easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
The IULE is very similar to what he's talking about, where somebody wants more of the death benefit and less value. The death benefits more.
And that was the one that came in second. So I could do, $300,000 for the same client was $188. The IULE, which was the next cheapest, was like close to $230.
But just keep in mind, the underwriting is very different on both of those. So it's a case by case scenario. wouldn't
Mhm.
always recommend to go the route that he's going unless somebody is like extremely healthy.
They have to be healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm very straightforward about that. I go into great detail about their health. Just going through the questions, and I let them know, look, this is, while they're not going to take blood and stuff, they could, but what they are going to do is they're going to ask any question they want to, and they can get anything in your past history they can request. So please, be real honest and tell me everything. I give them the example because I've seen one of these reports, but like they could tell that you took a Tylenol 3 with codeine, 2 of them 97 days ago. It's insane how accurate these test reports are. So,
they even pull like
pop a Vicodin once in a while, you may want to mention it to me, and we have to disclose that stuff.
Where does their credit score need to be on that one?
Well, they run a thing called a Nexus Lexus.
Oh, okay, I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with
Yeah,
that.
and here's the thing. It's so easy to call them up, get all your information that you have about the person. And I'll tell you, they've surprised me lately because I've done a couple where they're being very lenient on weight. Like, this girl is outside of the height weight. She's a little bit too heavy, which it's fairly strict for these. But the underwriter has told me, yeah, because she doesn't really have anything else wrong except she takes blood pressure, she'd probably still get standard. But if you do the quick underwriting risk review ahead of time, you have a pretty good idea of where it's going to land based on the information you've told me here. Okay. And so, and to be fair for the new people, this is not something you do with 95% of your people. You do not want to do full medical. It's for certain situations. And I really look, a lot of times if you tell people that they may want to do this and they can, a lot of people just aren't going to want to do that type of policy. So I gave that option, but she was very straightforward and based on her health.
That's like in a scenario where you're trying to beat a premium. That's it,
Yeah, and I am, because she's working with another agent in Florida. So I don't want to have this person finally get back to her and be like, oh, look, I've got this one here I can do. So I wanted to make sure that I had told her about the best options.
Oh, so there's some competitiveness there.
Yeah, because I spent $100 just to be able to make a sale in Florida. And so I do want to make sure that, I come through. But and I've told her, hey, if there's an issue, and it could be a little bit more expensive, but unless she totally lied to me, she shouldn't be declined for the policy.
Right. Well, real quick before we jump on,
Jeff's our detail guy, man. He'll go deep on that stuff, Sherry.
And it's good to, as you become more of a seasoned agent, it is good to know this stuff. You will run across competitive scenarios, but just keep in mind as you're getting going, just remember to, when in doubt, reach out and always pick up a check or pick up the phone. And then if you run across a scenario like that, we know, when to pivot. And we'll tell you, but
like, for example, like this week, Savannah submitted an app and then she had another appointment and she just put the client on hold and called me because she was unsure about where to go. So that's a very good example of, you can say, hey, I'm going to check with our underwriters real quick. Just give me a second. You can put them on hold and then call. So
real quick, before we get into our staff call, I will send all of you guys a message later today about the transmittal. Thank you, Savannah and Juanita, for turning yours in yesterday. I'll send another email blast out to everybody so you know where to turn the transmittal into. And then Savannah and Serena tomorrow morning will be recognized for their first submitted app on the sales meeting. So I'll also send them a little extra message in the email letting them know how to get on and what to expect. So we'll see you guys all in the sales meeting tomorrow morning for that. And if you need anything in the meantime, reach out.
Okay.
Have a wonderful week.
Okay.
See you guys later.